30th, fight night. Big night of boxing tonight, guys. I want to know what you guys think of these two big main events tonight. First of all, we got one of the biggest all-female fights, main events. One of the biggest female main events, probably in the history of female boxing, with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. And then we have, that's in New York. And then in Las Vegas, we have Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez in a 130-pound world title unification. Big night of boxing. Should be great. I think boxing fans are going to have a good time. We're going to enjoy these fights. My final takes on these fights, guys. Honestly, I know I've picked my pick to win the fights have been Katie Taylor in the female fight in the New York, and my pick in the Las Vegas fight, the unification fight between Stevenson and Valdez. I've picked Shakur Stevenson. I think both will go to points. I think both will end on points. I think Shakur Stevenson will pull away rather easily as the fight progresses, but I do feel like Oscar Valdez has to and probably will start fast. I think he also thinks that. I mean, I can't imagine him wanting to allow Stevenson to kind of get into a groove before finally trying to attack him all out, you know. Typically, when you're fighting guys who are slick boxers who like to be comfortable, they don't really like to be touched. I know, because I was a boxer who tried to be slick as well, and we don't really like guys to touch us. We don't like to kind of be in the mud or be in those kind of rough and rowdy fights, so to speak. So I think when it comes to rough opponents, rugged opponents, they typically try to get you in the mud early so that maybe you can break your composure and your concentration. Valdez has been that kind of fighter. He loves to go to war. He loves to battle. He always puts on exciting fights. I don't think you'll watch an Oscar Valdez fight where you'll be disappointed in the action. But I think tonight he's going to have a hard time finding the opponent to engage him in that way. I think the fight might be fun early. Listen, it'll be interesting to see, you know, if Stevenson possibly doesn't have the right focus early on, and if Valdez can connect with some shots, maybe the evolution of the fight ends up changing a little bit, and maybe Valdez can take some early success into the middle rounds as well. But I kind of have seen this fight. I've said this before. I kind of see this fight like one of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s early career fights when he fought Jesus Chavez, where Chavez really started as fast as he could, hoping and trying to make Mayweather uncomfortable, and had some success in doing that early in the fight, but eventually wore himself out in trying so hard to make the fight a rough fight that by the middle to late rounds he was totally worn out, gassed out, and Floyd actually stopped him. I don't think Stevenson has the strength to stop Valdez, though. I think Valdez will be in his face all night, although he'll end up getting frustrated and become more and more easy to time as the fight progresses. And I think Stevenson makes it kind of comfortable as the fight wears on more and more easily, and becomes a unified 130-pound world champion in a fight that I don't expect a lot of fireworks. But early on, I'm very curious about it. Listen, if Valdez doesn't start the fight fast, I don't think gives himself any prayer at all. As for Taylor and Serrano, the female championship fight, this is a fight that's kind of been a long time in the making. I think it's a little bit late for the fight. A couple of years ago, I would have picked Amanda Serrano to beat Katie Taylor. I just feel like Taylor has a better ability at this point to get through the gears. Serrano seems to be fighting at one gear. She has a good right hand and has had some pretty sharp and strong early rounds of her last couple of fights. But then after that, she's sort of gone into this almost like a boring lull where she's just kind of done the same thing over and over in every round subsequent to that. And the fight becomes like a repetition of the previous round every single round. And she, you know, kind of looks lackluster, walks into punches, and just beats her opponents just on being bigger and better than them, but not really showing off a whole lot of skill. I think she's going to need to show the skill that I used to see in Serrano if she's going to be successful tonight. Taylor has the ability to go through the gears. She's very quick when she wants to be. I think she still has some pretty good legs and can be in and out quick. She can, you know, turn up to fifth or sixth gear and then kind of get back. And I like to see Serrano, if she's going to have any success, have that same ability especially with closing the gap behind punches. I think that's going to be very, very keen and interesting, because Taylor has an ability to really get off quick and be out quick, and get off quick and be out quick. And if she sees you can't deal with that, she'll actually start to accelerate increase the punch output in her combinations, because she realizes that you're not making her pay. She does get aggressive, and which is one of the things that makes Katie Taylor such an aggressive and also a fun fighter to watch, but at the same time remaining smart. I'd like to see Serrano, see if she can make the adjustments. If Serrano can make some of the adjustments and get Taylor to be uncomfortable, I think it could get really interesting as the fight wears on. I know Serrano doesn't seem to me like she wears down as the fight progresses. To me, she's looked almost bored as the fight has progressed, her last two fights, and for that reason, she's looked almost lackluster. Let's see. That's one thing I'm curious about. Let's see how this fight progresses tonight, because if she's in a competitive fight or she's in a fight where it's on the line, she's going to have to learn to, make the adjustments in the heat of battle, which is something she really hasn't had to do, especially of late. And the result of the fight could basically depend on that, is Serrano's ability to adjust or not adjust in those middle rounds, because I think Taylor is going to come out guns firing, and she's going to be a little quicker at the opening bell and trying to set the tone to show Serrano that she's just not quick enough, and she maybe even not even intense enough to deal with her. But remember that, again, Serrano does start quick. The last couple of fights, she's had some very good first rounds where you almost thought she was going to end the fight early, and then all of a sudden you just wound up watching a repeat of every single round for 9 or 10 straight rounds, and it was almost boring and lackluster. But let's see. She's got no reason to be bored tonight, man. This is everything on the line. This is a career-defining fight for both women. I think it's also a career-defining fight for Stevenson and Valdez, although Stevenson probably, I think, will go on to have many more career-defining fights. I'm excited about tonight's fight. So let me know what you guys think. Those are my predictions. I've got points decision wins for both Katie Taylor and Shakur Stevenson as my predictions. I'm hoping we see some good action, and I hope we see an exciting night of fights. Like, comment, subscribe. This is Paulie Malignaggi, and let me know what you think in the comments about tonight's fights.